Chad Chiniquy. This is the Hard Money Minute. I'm Hard Money Chad. This program is sponsored by IMC Money. Of course, IMC Money is where you go for all of your acquisition and development financing, especially when it comes to hard money, especially when it comes to distressed properties. Today I'm just going to chat just briefly about whether or not you need to actually attend the closing. Do you actually need to physically be there at the closing and physically sign the loan documents? Short answer, no. You don't need to be at the closing. Should you be at the closing? Absolutely. If it's possible, if you can be there, if you plan on being there, if it's in your schedule to be there, you should definitely be at the closing if you can. However, if you live more than like 3 hours away from the place, if you have to spend a lot of time or money or arrange time off work or buy airline tickets and things like that, I don't recommend going to the closing. So obviously there's pros and cons to going to the closing. First of all, let's talk about, are you required? No, you're not required to be there. You are required to sign for that closing, but you don't actually have to be the one that signs the documents. You could get a power of attorney and you could have your real estate agent or a lawyer or someone you know, love, trust, somebody sign the documents for you. You get what's called a power of attorney. We're not going to talk about that in this video right now. I have another video that talks about power of attorney. For this video, I just want to talk about whether or not you need to be there. The short answer, no, but if you are there, it's going to be so much better for you because while you're there, you can ask any question. The title officer is going to know the answer to it because they've done hundreds or thousands of closings before. The other thing that's really good is if there's a mistake on the documents or there's some sort of error or something that's not quite right, you can usually get that fixed with the lender and sent back to title right then and then fixed. If the documents have been sent to you or something and you're remotely signing, then it's a little harder to do that. How do you remotely sign? Well, a lot of you have probably signed things on like DocuSign or some sort of other web-based service that allows you to sign for things. That's good for a lot of stuff, but most of the time that's not going to work for the actual loan documents. Generally speaking, they're going to want some sort of wet signature. But a wet signature is different than anything else. So when you hear somebody say wet signature, that means that someone, you, actually sat down like with a pen and used ink to sign the documents. They call that a wet signature. If you can't do a wet signature at the physical closing, you can still do a wet signature where you are. Generally speaking, what we'll do is we'll FedEx the documents to you. It's a real simple process. Get everything done. Make sure you have enough time. Documents get FedEx to where you live. You sign them, scan them, email them back, and then FedEx them back. That's a good way to do it, so you don't have to be at the title company for that. Another thing you can do is what's called a mobile notary. A lot of times you'll be closing with a title company who has a presence in other areas. Maybe more than one location in the state where you're buying, and there could be an office of the title company in the state that you're buying close by to you, and you can usually sign there. Or maybe it's a national title company and you can do some kind of affiliate thing where you can go into a local title company that's actually a part of a national chain. That works sometimes. Mobile notaries, overnighting documents. The mobile notary, that's when the notary gets the documents and they bring them over to you, to your work or your place of business, and you sign there. Most of the time, you're going to have a wet signature on the documents, and they want you, the borrower, to sign those actual loan documents. If you're unable to do so, you can get a power of attorney. If you get the power of attorney, they will then provide the wet signature, but you do not actually need to be at the title company. Here's my general rule. If you don't have to fly and your drive is less than 3 hours, you should go to the closing. Let me repeat that. If you don't have to fly and to drive there is less than 3 hours, you should go to the closing. If you've got to drive 8 hours to get to a closing, I don't recommend it. If you got to spend $1,000 and then money for airfare and then money for a hotel and Uber or cars or whatever, I don't recommend actually going to the closing. If you're closing out of state, get the documents sent to you and close. Now, you can still have those documents reviewed. You can have your lawyer review them. You can have your mentor review them. You can have a local title company review them. Obviously, you'll review them yourself. But the most important thing you got to understand is that you don't actually have to be there, and maybe it's more cost beneficial, time beneficial, or some other reason for you to be someplace else and sign those documents. So just remember, you don't actually have to attend the closing. You can have someone else sign for you. If it requires a wet signature, you have a power of attorney. If you have to sign it, we can email you documents, we can FedEx you documents, we can send you a mobile notary. There's a lot of ways around it. Recently, I had a deal where there was like 6 or 7 different people that were involved, that were owners of the JV LLC that was formed to buy this new property. 6 or 7 borrowers. 1 or 2 lived on the East Coast, 2 lived in Central, 2 lived like out here on the West Coast, and 1 lived in Europe. And we had to get all 7 signatures together for one document, and it wasn't easy, but it can be done. So just remember that too. Keep that in mind. If in your LLC that you've applied for the hard money loan for, if you've got different members in different states, maybe it was you and your son and you started an LLC and you live in Wisconsin, he goes to college out in California. Remember, if he's on your LLC, he's probably going to have to sign. If you and your daughter or you and your niece or one of your friends or a girlfriend or a husband or a spouse or whomever is part of the LLC, more than likely they'll be required to sign on loan documents with you. If that happens, just be sure that you can get a hold of that person and get them to the closing or get them to sign the documents. Okay, it's pretty simple, right? I mean, that's easy. Most of the time, I recommend going to the closing if you possibly can. If it's less than 3 hours, definitely have a drive. Less than a 3-hour drive, definitely go. The best part about being at the closing is just being right there with the agent. Every single document gets explained to you. But it's really overkill, and let me tell you why. The documents are pretty boilerplate. They're pretty standard. You already know what the terms of the loan are and everything up front. So if you just get the documents sent to where you are, have your lawyer, have your local title person, someone you know, trust, a really good real estate mentor, someone, review the documents. You should be fine. So you don't have to close. You don't have to attend the closing if you don't want. It's always recommended if it's close by. That's it. That's pretty quick, right? Pretty easy. Hard Money Minute. I'm Hard Money Chad. Remember, IMC Money, this is the place you come here, you get your acquisition, your development financing, all your real estate questions asked and answered, all that kind of good stuff. So come back here, imcmoney.com. I'm gonna get back to work. Thanks for tuning in today, and happy investing. Thanks.